Welcome to the Kansan Pop Culture Podcast. I'm Ryan Wright. Today I'm joined by Belen Maluenda and Courtney Bierman. Today we're going to talk about Deadpool. Now, why is this film so big?
Well, Deadpool broke records as the highest grossing rated R film with an opening weekend-wise.
You're probably thinking, this was a superhero movie, but that guy in the suit just turned that other guy into a kebab. Surprise, this is a different kind of superhero story.
As a film, it's very unique on its own. The character breaks the fourth wall. We have a lot of crass jokes that we have never seen from a company, Marvel, that usually makes kind of family-oriented or at least family-friendly films. So there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, and going off with the crass jokes thing, one thing that kind of bothered me about this movie, which is not unique to Deadpool by any means or unique to the superhero genre, but was the kind of casual misogyny that was pretty rampant in this movie.
The thing is, the jokes with Deadpool, just going off of the comic books, there was already a huge battle between the fans and Marvel for even allowing it to be rated R. Because if you know anything about the comic books, like there's nothing in there that's anything less than rated R, if not, MC-17. But they had to have that rating, and with that rating came sort of the jokes that I think appeal to that demographic, which is a lot of crass jokes.
The demographic being comic book readers.
Comic book readers who are loyal to Deadpool, but also people who go into superhero movies expecting to get a good, bang for their buck.
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of especially unfortunate. And I wasn't particularly bothered by any of the humor. It's something you get pretty used to going to superhero movies. But just Marvel, I think, tries to market itself as a pretty progressive entertainment company. I don't know how successfully they market themselves that way, but I think with like the Black Widow character in particular, they try to market themselves as something that is very appealing to women. And I think they very much alienate that part of their audience.
Yeah, you're way too much dude for me. That's why I brought him.
I see your point, but at the same time, I feel like if it couldn't have been any less out there than it already was. It couldn't have been any more appropriate, or else it would have been the movie itself would have been a joke. People wouldn't have taken it seriously because it would have just been a soft version of what Deadpool could have really been on screen.
I thought the humor, it was appropriate for the character. I can definitely understand how some of it can be taken, as offensive. But I think if it wasn't offensive, would it be Deadpool?
Exactly. That's the thing. If it wasn't offensive, if somebody didn't walk out of that saying I don't know, that could just kind of rub me the wrong way, it wouldn't have been Deadpool. I do think that if you're going to try to take a hero from the comic books, use that name, you have to do it some justice to its original source material. That's why.
And I agree with that.
That's why it was such a big deal when they had a Deadpool sort of incarnation in X-Men Wolverine Origins, the first one.
Which also had Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, it was also Ryan Reynolds playing that. And, they had him, he has a mouth in the beginning, and he's a soldier, and they put him all through these treatments, and they make him a mutant. They give him a ton of different powers. Basically, kind of Deadpool.
Yeah.
And, but obviously, as we know, X-Men Wolverine Origins was terrible. And the character was just really underdeveloped. He was more of a foil than an actual character. And Ryan Reynolds has always been very, very angry and regretful about that, film. He wishes that he hadn't done it. And he's been working on this for 10 years. So this has been a long time in the running.
Yeah.
What are just initial thoughts about the movie?
Going into it, I didn't have very high hopes, honestly. It's kind of a hot take here, but I'm not a big fan of the Marvel movies, any of them, any of the characters. I kind of like the X-Men movies. I don't like the Avengers, none of that. But I just don't find them interesting. I get bored.
Because they're predictable?
They are.
Is Deadpool not predictable?
It was actually.
Deadpool followed a pretty set formula there.
So what
there's the girl, there's the villain, there's defeating the villain, everything that happens in between, and then obviously you add all the Deadpool funny, crass limitless spice, whatever you want to
make
call
it
it.
interesting.
To make it interesting and to make it funny, but it followed that formula pretty closely. And the fact that it had a much smaller budget than, say, Captain America or Avengers meant that it cut out a lot. The villain had to be a lot smaller. The fights had to be a lot smaller. At one point, he even makes a joke and says, like, "Oh, why do we only have these two X-Men? Because the studio couldn't afford to have more." Like, they poke fun at their own limitations, but sometimes they're almost a little too apparent. Like, there's too much of a comparison to Marvel, which, maybe it would have done better as a standalone, not affiliated with Marvel, but that's something else.
Overall, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I thought the pacing was great. It felt like there was something important going on throughout the whole, hour and 40 minutes or so. I thought the humor added a lot to the movie, but which is necessary. But the story, without the humor, it'd be so depressing. Like, the story is actually pretty sad, but the humor kind of pokes fun at all these really, really dark things.
I think that the appeal of Deadpool is that he can, the most incredibly just sadistic, sad, and messed up scenes in the movie and as parts of his story, he kind of goes past them and just inserts his humor. It was extremely entertaining.
People don't go to superhero movies to get sad.
Exactly. Yeah. The darkness has worked before. We've had the successful Batman movie.
You're right.
Like
even
all
Captain
the Nolan
America
movies,
to some extent.
even Captain America. We've had darkness work before, but this movie leans very, very closely to its humor, and it's definitely its lifeblood. Without the humor, this movie would be pretty flat.
Yeah.
So that is Deadpool, out last Thursday, and it's a pretty good movie. Go check it out.